afternoon. I'm pleased to declare the 2011 commencement for the Quinnipiac University School of Law officially open. Would you please stand for the invocation, which will be delivered by Reverend Hugh Vincent Dyer, Director of Campus Ministry and Catholic Chaplain.
Peace be with you. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you for the gift of life and for guiding us to this day. Be within us, inscribing on our hearts your life-giving law of love and mercy as we strive to walk the path of truth and justice. May we always be aware of the inherent dignity of every human person, the little no less than the great. In your name we pray, amen.
Please be seated. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the members of our platform party, which consists of our speaker, an honorary degree recipient, whom you will meet in a few moments, university administrators, and the deans and faculty of the School of Law. It's now my pleasure to introduce Brad Saxton, Dean of the School of Law.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Graduates, it may be a little bit drippy outside, but the day that you graduate from law school is a drop-dead, gorgeous, beautiful day by definition. So. It's my privilege at this time to welcome Dr. John L. Leahy, the president of the university, who will extend greetings to you on behalf of the university community.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to all of you on this day of joy and celebration. To our law school graduates, I extend my heartiest congratulations to each and every one of you. You should all feel very proud of your accomplishments and the well-deserved recognition you are receiving today. The class of 2011 is arguably the best ever to come through the Quinnipiac School of Law, and many of you have already accepted offers from prestigious law firms or judicial clerkships with some of the best minds in the legal profession. One of today's graduates, Catherine Casaubon, served as this year's editor-in-chief of the Quinnipiac Law Review and received the Dean's Award for her outstanding service to the School of Law. I enjoyed working with Kate in her role as a member of the board of Quinnipiac Center for Excellence in Teaching and Service to Students. And I'm pleased to share with you that she will be clerking for today's commencement speaker, Connecticut Supreme Court Justice Fleming Norcott, Jr. Heather McKay, who served as lead articles editor of the Quinnipiac Law Review, wrote an article entitled "Fighting for Victoria: Federal Equal Protection Claims Available to American Transgender Schoolchildren," which will appear in the Quinnipiac Law Review. Heather will clerk for Connecticut Supreme Court Chief Justice Chase Rogers. Another of today's graduates, Nicole Fernandez, was a member of the team that finished first in the mediation portion of the annual Securities Dispute Resolution Triathlon, sponsored by the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. 21 other teams participated in the two-day competition that attracted law students from around the country. I also want to recognize your Student Bar Association President, Kelly Obermeyer, who provided outstanding leadership this past year. The Quinnipiac University School of Law is advancing both in terms of academic quality and national recognition. And these achievements are clearly a consequence of the exceptional work of the law faculty and the leadership of Dean Brad Saxton and our Dean of Admissions, Ed Wilkes. In the final analysis, though, a law school, like any other school, will be judged best by its graduates. And so, members of the class of 2011, we are depending on you to make the best use possible of the education you have received at the Quinnipiac University School of Law. You have already left a significant mark on our School of Law, and I have no doubt that you will leave an even greater mark on the world that awaits you. Again, my congratulations and best wishes to each and every one of you.
Thank you, President Leahy, and please know on behalf of our graduates and the faculty and staff of the law school how grateful we are to the university for the wonderful support that we get all the time. So welcome again to everybody, to graduates, to family members, friends, honored guests. We're delighted to have you here at this time of celebration, and congratulations for our graduating students. Before I make my own brief remarks, I wanted to say a special thank you. Some of our law students make it through law school mostly by themselves, but many more of them make it through this very, very difficult journey with wonderful support from family members and close friends. I'd like to allow the graduating class a moment to thank those who stood behind and supported on this wonderful journey that you've made, and on behalf of the faculty and staff of the law school, thank you from us as well. So graduates, this is a unique opportunity for me. This is almost certainly the last time that I will get to talk to you all together. We had one other occasion, which was your orientation some few years back. Seems like it was only yesterday, and it seems like it was forever ago, both at the same time, I think. 3 points that I wanted to make for you this afternoon: thank yous, encouragement, and advice. Let me start with thank you and congratulations. It's an extraordinary accomplishment that we honor here today. Just getting through law school and graduating is a tremendous amount of work, as you all know. On behalf of the faculty and the administration of the law school, we're really grateful to you for your very hard work, for your wonderful successes, and for the many contributions you've made during your time here. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Let me talk second, encouragement for you. These are challenging times in lots of ways for lots of different folks. But I do have words of encouragement for you as you get started on this next phase of your life. Some of you know what you will be doing next year already. Some of you are still figuring out what you will be doing after you pass the bar exam and get those results back. So a couple of quick points by way of encouragement. First of all, for those of you who don't know yet what you're doing, take heart in the fact that for a number of years now, many of our graduates at this time, sitting in the same seats where you're sitting, were still wondering what they were going to be doing a few months out. A lot of the employers in this area tend to hire after bar results are in, and so for those of you still looking, take heart. Many others have been in these shoes, and very quickly we're finding good opportunities. The other thing that I would also say to take heart, I've talked with some of you who are graduating, and at least a few of you have said, you know, I've got a job, I'm glad to have this job. It's not my dream job yet. I'm not sure how long I'll be doing it, but this is what I'm going to start out with. And I would just share with you that I spent a lot of time with our alumni, and I would say it is the exception that I run into alums who are 4 years out, 6 years out, 10 years out, who are doing today what they started doing right when they left law school. Much more common for people. They get out, they start doing one thing, they move into something else, they transition, they're gaining skills, they're getting a better sense of what they want to do. And for many of them, it's 4 years, 7 years, and then they have settled into what is really their dream position for the long haul. So in that regard as well, for many of you, look to the long term for this. That's for most of our alumni, that's how it's worked out, and be patient as you develop those opportunities. The other thing that I wanted to say is just two points. Take hope that jobs are being added in Connecticut and around the country. I don't know if you follow as closely as we do. I suspect you do, but there's good news on the jobs horizon in the legal environment. Jobs are being added in this area and others. And the last thing I would say is we have great confidence in you, in your skill set, and the knowledge that you've accumulated during your time here. You're going to do great things in the profession, so we are very, very hopeful and optimistic for you. So let me move to my third point, and this is advice. For me, it's a real privilege to get to address you, and I always feel like I want to try and say something significant if I can, something that seems to me the most meaningful thing I could say on a ceremony like this. And I'm going to say something that I've said a couple of different times in graduation, and one of the reasons I'm going to say it is that I've talked to alums, most recently one who graduated 7 years ago, who came up to me and talked about something he was doing with a new professional opportunity. And as he talked about it, he said, You know, I am following what you said at commencement. What you said at commencement that day has really stuck in my mind over these years, and it's been something that I paid attention to. So if he listened, then it seemed like something worth passing along again. So here it is. My advice for you is beware of the trap. I'm going to say it again. Beware of the trap. Well, what is the trap? The trap is falling into that habit of mind that says, I will be happy once I get there. I will be happy once I reach the destination. And I think this is true for us as a culture, for us as a society, but it's especially true in the task-oriented legal profession. You would not have been admitted at law school if you were not task-oriented. You would not be graduating today if you were not task-oriented. And I suspect that a number of you are already a bit of that mindset that says, you know, once I get through first year, once I get through Micklejohn's contract exam, once I pass the bar exam, once I make partner, once I have enough money to buy that first BMW, but you can find yourself falling into that trap where you just keep saying that over and over again. I just have to get through this next really busy thing or this next busy, really demanding thing, and then I'll settle down, and then I'll start having time to do the things I really enjoy doing. And it seems to me from years in this profession and observing this, and I will confess to you that I struggle with this myself all the time, that one of the things that happens when you fall into that mindset is what starts to fall behind sometimes are family, friends, fun, exercise, pro bono work, service to community, reading good things, watching good movies, watching the sunset. Many of the kinds of things that when you get to what will hopefully be the end of a long and productive life, you will look back on and say, those were the things that made my life wonderful. And it will be a crying shame if you get to that time at the end of your life, and if you look back and you say, I didn't spend enough time on those things that I thought were really most important to me, or that should have been most important to me, or that I should have made a priority in my life. I think it's impossible to be successful in this profession without focusing on the task at hand, without committing yourself fully to that task. But we have to try and find ways along the way of doing it and honoring those things that are important to us: friends, family, time, fun, along the way. So my hope for you, my advice, figure out what it is for you that are those most important things in addition to a productive work life, and prioritize them. Make sure you're making time for them along the way as you do it, because I promise you, I'm 51 this year. It wasn't that long ago, it seems, when I was sitting in your shoes, and it goes like that. It really does. And I hope you will be able to look back on those years and say, I honored the things that I really care about. I honored the things that are really important to me, and I made time for them, including all those folks out there. So with that, let me just close by saying quickly, please keep in touch with us. Our relationship with you, our commitment to you does not end today. Over the next while, make sure we know how to get hold of you so that we can let you know of opportunities that we're aware of. Please come back to us for advice. Please let us know what you're up to. You are part of our family forever. So with that, let me say again, congratulations to you. Job very, very well done. We are really proud of you. We thank you for your time with us, and we have great optimism about the wonderful contributions you will make to the legal profession in the coming years. So congratulations and thank you. This time I'd like to invite Justice Norcott, Professor Marilyn Ward-Ford, Senior Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs Mark Thompson, and President Leahy to come forward. Marilyn, citation.
Thank you. Justice Fleming L. Norcott. For more than 4 decades, you have demonstrated an unwavering belief in the value of public service. As an Associate Justice on the Connecticut Supreme Court, you have devoted yourself to upholding the law, delivering just and fair opinions, and serving the needs of your clients and the community. You are also a pioneer, being the first African American judge appointed to the appellate court and the second to sit on Connecticut's Supreme Court. In a landmark 1996 decision, you and your fellow justices ruled that Connecticut has an obligation to provide its children with a substantially equal public educational opportunity regardless of race or ethnic background. You have shared your knowledge of the law, teaching or lecturing at various institutions over the years, including the University of East Africa in Nairobi and Yale Law School. You currently serve on the faculty of Yale College, Department of African American Studies, and the University of New Haven's Criminal Justice Department. In recognition of your tireless public service and steadfast devotion to education and justice, the Quinnipiac University School of Law is pleased to confer upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws this 15th day of May, 2011.
By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations, Justice.
Graduates, I am honored and privileged to present your commencement speaker to you, Justice Norcott. You honor us with your presence, and Althea, we're honored to have you with us as well. Thank you.
First of all, I want to give greetings to President Leahy, Dean Saxton, the wonderfully talented faculty, Marilyn, my good friend of this great institution, all the dignitaries on the stage and in the audience, and most particularly to the graduates of the class of 2011 and their families and loved ones who've supported them. I know you could have selected a lot of people for this honor, and you've selected me, and I'm so honored and thrilled that I can't really put it into words, but I can assure you that I brought some documents with me, so you'll be satisfied. I bought my birth certificate. My wife has it. And I bought my degrees from Columbia College and Columbia Law School as well, showing that I attended those institutions. This institution is a fantastic place. I try to come back to it whenever I can, either to do moot courts, to meet friends here, to interview students. It's just a fascinating place, and I can say to the faculty and the dean and the president, you train these young people so well that hiring them, seeing them progress throughout the legal community is a true testament to your dedication and to your skills and your genius. You've selected these people to be in this class, you've trained them, and you're turning them out to join us in the legal profession as some of the most brilliant students I've come across in my some 33 years as a judge. 33. I'm also, as the president said, I'm also honored for my next year's law clerk to have one of your group, Kate Kassabaum, as my penultimate term clerk, and you should be very honored to know and proud to know that Kate has agreed, given our budget situation, to serve voluntarily without pay. I'm only teasing Kate. I hope. One good thing about the speeches I give is that they're not long. So those of you who are waiting for the conferring of degrees, you'll be very, very happy to know my speech is very short. You'll be in and out of here, as far as I'm concerned, in very prompt time. I think the speeches are pretty good, but many times people leave the audience saying, well, what did he say? But that's what he say. I begin by telling you a quasi-parable. It's about the devil at the Connecticut Bar Association. And the devil meets a young lawyer at the Connecticut Bar Association and says, look, he says, I promise you, next year you will be the general managing partner of the largest law firm in the Northeast. You will have wealth untold, and you will be a peer among peers in your profession. And all you have to do is renounce your family, renounce your religion, and worship me. And the young lawyer looked at him and said, well, what's the catch? Certainly this isn't the type of lawyer we want in the profession, and I'm certain this isn't the type of lawyer any of you will be. But this somewhat cynical parable frames the brief message that I bring you today. I want to say a few words about the tools that I believe you'll need to have a successful and meaningful practice in our profession and to have a happy and productive life. That tool is civility. The Dalai Lama once wrote, "Be kind whenever possible. It is always possible." In our profession, kindness embraces not only a helpful, benevolent nature, but also a healthy dose of civility, respect, and collegiality that doesn't sacrifice zealous advocacy for client or cause, but rather makes the quest for justice our ultimate goal, a more admirable endeavor. Indeed, I want you never to forget that justice is the essence of the rule of law, and that in your pursuit of that which is just, you do it with concern not only for your clients, but also for your opponent. That you treat each other with the dignity and respect that separates our profession from all the others. My apologies to all the other professions and all those wonderful people who are members of other professions. I respect those professions. In fact, my son will soon marry a doctor, and I hope she gives me a loan so I can pay my Connecticut taxes. I recently, a couple of years ago, had a conference in South Carolina and met with the justices of the South Carolina Supreme Court. And they informed me of a practice that they used to have. I'm not sure they still do, but I think they do. And the practice was this: after oral argument of their very complex cases, the justices would come off the bench and shake hands with the respective lawyers who argued before them. That to me, I don't know if that would work in Connecticut, but that to me embodied and evidences the type of spirit and collegiality and need for civility that has to permeate our profession. Yes, our profession indeed stands for justice and civility and leadership. In a recent speech to an incoming class of law students at the Columbia University Law School, D. David Scheiser eloquently put the matter thusly: "We all aspire to a world in which excellence is encouraged and rewarded, while opportunities and material well-being are available to everyone. Values such as freedom, equality, and the rule of law need to be maintained and defended, and you are now part of the profession that most proudly is responsible for this mission." How right Dean Scheiser is. We lawyers in Connecticut, with our incredibly talented bar, are the vanguard of that mission. It's no mystery that lawyers lead the quest for solutions to all types of societal problems. In the legislative chambers, in corporate boardrooms, in the highest seats of government, you will find members of our profession whose wisdom and deliberate analytical skills are respected and relied upon. Unfortunately, where we as a group and we as a nation perform most poorly is when we lose sense of the need to maintain civility or kindness in our debate over complex issues. Rancor, ad hominem attacks, and mean-spiritedness only add to the harmful divide that seems to be affecting our country more and more. You, the new breed of leadership, can and will do better. I advise that you reject those who would draw you in that direction of divisiveness, because it will only draw you further away from justice. Have the courage to stand by what you know to be right, but conduct yourselves with dignity. As I conclude, let me say this. Lately in my dotage, I seem to always conclude my addresses sounding like some modern-day Polonius giving advice to Laertes. You know, Hamlet, Shakespeare, all that. but here it goes anyway. As we welcome you to the profession of law, consider this advice and always try to learn from your mistakes, but do not dwell on them. The late, great baseball manager, Sparky Anderson, said, "I've got plenty of faults, but one of them isn't living in the past. There's no future in it." Embrace change and practice tolerance. Make at least one good, true friend in life. Not the Paris Hilton BFF type friend, but a real, true friend. Make more than one and you're blessed. On friendship, remember Groucho Marx said, outside of a dog, a book is a man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read it. Right. I could fill this speech with Grouchoisms, but I won't. Remember that, to again quote Dean Scheiser, the law can be quite consuming, but as you throw yourself into it, be sure that you do not neglect the people closest to you. An old Negro spiritual advises that you live a humble yourself, the bell done rung. Indeed, for you, as your academic training at Quinnipiac Law ends, the bell indeed has done rung. Now it's time to leave the world of the hypothetical and enter the real world. Welcome. As you enter it, think of what I've said and remember, be kind. Whenever possible, it's always possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Norcott, for those inspiring words. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce our Associate Dean, David King, who will introduce the members of the graduating class.
Good afternoon. The graduating class has selected as Hooders my colleagues, Professors Mary Ferrari, Stephen Gillis, and the Professor of the Year, Alexander Mickeljohn. Will you please come forward? Will the marshals please bring the graduating class forward? Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege and my honor to present to you the individual members of the class of 2011. Kelly E. Obermeyer. James Andrew Cresswell. Sylvia Knox Delamar. Misty Maza. Gregory John Patagas. Michael V. Laubach. Andrew Marchant Shapiro. Matthew Vincent Barrett. Kenneth A. Thomas, MD. Carminia M. Munoz. Erin Marie Sheets. Taryn Ashley Hull. Celestia Belinda Price. Cyrus Miller. Tiffany Lynn Sabato. Heather Lynn McKay. Andrew Thomas Lally. Brett Ryan Aiello. Lisa M. Vincent. Michelle D. Wynn. Ashley Kuto. Jessica Massia. Christopher Joseph Smedick. Margaret Mary Aiken. Amanda L. Carlson. Matthew Zucker. Angelo Oteri. Jessica Ann Liner. Connie K. Ing. Nicole Marie Atlas. Julianne Simeon. Michael T. Vitale. Stephen C. Velarde. Michael J. Lamotte. Edward Michael McNulty. Lauren A. Scotton. Megan Alyssa Woods. Sylvia Maria Ades. Alicia K. Perillo. Andrew G. Gagliardo. Thomas Gale Tolbert. Alexander Kintner. Kelly M. Berwick. Russell B. Green. Jennifer A. Polcini. Michael R. Petavillano. Patrick James Cosgrove. Peter Eldon Bracken. Brandon F. Yost. Albino M. Caporal. Robert Bruce Shepard, Jr. Jennifer L. Ayat. Victoria Lynn Templeton. Amanda L. Brosi. Crystal L. Sorrentino. April Hammer Rosenkrantz. Margaret E. St. John. Kathleen Grace Gedney. Lindsay R. Capice. Earl Cooper. Catherine A. McColgan. Michelle Elizabeth Concannon. James R. Ingracia. Alex William Gillette. Daniel C. Mokricki. Alexander Henry Keeling. Catherine M. Ferrante. Giovanni T. Ruffin. Carrie Danielle Anderson. Daniel Murphy Irwin. Larissa Magnon Mervin. Denise Marie Graham. Andrea Lynn Finan. Adam D. LaRue. Catherine Elizabeth Casaban. Jennifer Margaret Brady. Gary Earl Adams. Megan Diane Monahan. Ashley Nicole Amenda. Kara Platt. Melissa Marie Roy. Caitlin E. McGrory. Nicole R. Fernandez. Megan Claire Flaherty. Shannon C. Bansley. Dorcia Cosette Carrillo. Leanne Semedo Silva. Stacia C. Robinson. Marcia Beckford. Regina M. Gilroy. Zachary Allen Kammerdiner. Amanda E. Gordon. Virginia M. Texera. Allison Elizabeth Conroy. Amy Lynn Holbrook. Joseph W. St. Roch IV. Mark Bonagide. Theodore John Rucci. Carol Lee. Nicole Marie Walsh. Fawn Ann Scrano. Renee S. Walker. Raphael Petrozuoli. Misty Ray Simmons. Jeffrey Andrew Solomon. Eric P. Dolce. Ilana Alexandria Bertram. Martine Lydia Trinka. Michael David Roy. Adam Delagianis. Jennifer Hirth. Joseph Hillo Zulo. Thomas J. Plumridge. Lowell Thomas Phillips Tillett. Anna Teretha Keegan. Shivani J. Desai. Sean Mason. Natalia Sierra Milan. Paul Roy Bedard. Alan Y. Song. Leo Joseph White. Matthew F. Zuba. Davidson Glenn Lucas. James A. Barrow. Darren J. Pruslow. Yuja Julia Shia. Paul Edward Hescox. Morgan E. Gender. Stephen M. Miklovic. Stephen T. Cho. Robert Francis Stevenson. Kevin Gregory Hansen. Mr. President, it is my honor and privilege to present to you the Quinnipiac University School of Law Class of 2011.
By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Juris Doctor with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations to all of you.
Please be seated. This time it is my honor and my privilege to introduce the student speaker, Kelly Obermeyer, the president of the Student Bar Association. Kelly, thank you for a wonderful year of leadership. We really appreciate all the hard work that you've done and how well you advocated for your class. Really appreciate it. So, congratulations.
Congratulations. When we sat in 1L orientation, Dean Saxton made us a promise. He promised each of us that at some point in our law school careers, we would be told, "You've changed." Looking around our class, we can see how each person has changed since we first met. But when Dean Saxton made that promise, I don't think he or anyone at Quinnipiac was ready for the changes the class of 2011 would make to the world around us. In our short time here, members of our graduating class contributed to raising over $52,200 for the Public Interest Law Project. Over $4,000 for the Wounded Warrior Project. And over 1,200 boxes of pasta were donated to a local homeless shelter after our charity football games. Students in our graduating class worked on 3 journals to publish 20 editions with over 200 articles, and 10 members of our graduating class had their work published. We have 16 graduates who are VITA certified, and in the past 3 years, those graduates and the VITA program have assisted roughly 350 indigent taxpayers, processing roughly 600 federal and state tax returns. Our competition teams have become paramount since the class of 2011 became involved. This year, the Moot Court Society competed in 8 national competitions, finishing as semifinalists in the National Tax Competition for a 2nd year in a row. The Society is now ranked on Law School Advocacy, the online ranking of moot court teams. Graduates of the 2011 class on the Mock Trial Society were semifinalists at the 2010 American Association for Justice Regional Competition, and 2 teams were finalists at the Texas Young Lawyers Association Regional Competition. This year, graduates from our class were semifinalists in the ABA competition hosted by our school, finalists at the American Association for Justice Regional Competition, and for a 2nd year in a row, both teams at the Texas Young Lawyers Association competition were regional finalists. We were the only school to send both teams past the first round. Graduates of the 2011 class in the Society for Dispute Resolution swept the 2010 ABA Regional Mediation Competition, taking 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place, sending a team to nationals. The team took 1st place at the Fall Financial Industry Regulatory Authority competition, and graduates from this class took 1st place this spring at the Regional Client Counseling competition, sending a team to nationals where they were semi-finalists. Those are just a few examples of the accomplishments of this class. Each of these things not only made us change as individuals, we also changed the people and the institutions around us. We raised the bar for all future incoming classes. We showed our professors just how much they can expect from us when we hold each other to the highest standards. And we changed the reputation of our law school, not only in Connecticut, but on a national level. In our short time here, we changed the very essence of Quinnipiac University School of Law. Many people go through life letting the world around them affect who they are and what they achieve. As a member of the class of 2011, I can walk away knowing we made our world what we wanted it to be, limitless. At last year's graduation, Judge Samuel Friedman said that he was waiting for reputation to catch up with reality. What he meant was that he's waiting for our national reputation to reflect just how excellent of a school we have. I'm sad to say that I just don't think that's ever going to happen. But I'm proud to say that the reason I don't think that's going to happen is because our class has laid the road for other classes to continue to excel, continue to exceed all expectations. In our world, reputation will never reflect reality because our reality is limitless. We will continue to be the example of excellence even after we walk out these doors. We continue to be the reputation of Quinnipiac as alumni, and we will have the resources to help elevate current students to our level of success, to our heightened standards. In law school, you learn a lot about professional duty. There are the requirements of lawyers, the duties of defendants, and the duty to give back to your community. But when we leave here, we shouldn't overlook our duty as alumni. That's the duty to give back to our school and help guide students following in our footsteps, to provide the guidance and support we received or we wish we had received. In my eyes, this isn't an option, it's a duty. When we enter the world as attorneys, it's our obligation to play a role shaping the next generation of lawyers, just as others did for us. Today is a special day, not only for graduates, but for our families and friends as well. Law school is not something you do alone. It affects everyone in your life. There's no way I'd be standing here today without the love and support of a number of people, and there's just a few I'd like to say thank you to. Mom and Dad Pogorzelski, so many people are lucky to have one supportive family, and I've been fortunate enough to have two. Thank you so much for your undying support. Otto and Alice, my grandparents, I never would have made it without you. Grandpa, you've been an inspiration, and when things were getting just a little too tough, I worked twice as hard in hopes of making you proud. My sisters, Erin and Sarah, you become my best friends, my backbone. My only hope is I can repay you for all your love and support these past few years. And my father, Robert, thank you for always taking my phone calls, even if it was just to talk about my day. The things I've celebrated over the past few years have only been as good because I was able to share it with you. Thank you for all the times you sacrificed having something you wanted just to make sure I could have what I did. It's been really special to have you be such a large part of my success, and today is just as much a celebration of your love and support as it is my graduation. And I know each graduate would say the same things to their families if they had the opportunity. So thank you everyone for contributing to this class's success. The success of this institution is on our shoulders. We walk out of this graduation alumni. Whether it's money, resources, or time, Quinnipiac University School of Law will only continue to change if we continue to change it. The students here will only continue to excel if we never let our heightened standards of success waver. When Dean Saxton made that promise to us just a few years ago, I don't think he knew how much Quinnipiac was going to change. It's our turn to make a promise to Dean Saxton, future QUSL students, and ourselves. That's a promise that we will continue to excel and exceed expectation, and a promise that we will continue to give back and lay the road for others to come after us and succeed. Our reality is limitless. Our promise is to help others exist in our world too.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Wonderful remarks. At this time, it's my real privilege to introduce the professor who gets to extend remarks to the graduating class. For members of our guests, the graduating class selects one professor each year whom they view as the professor has been the most outstanding professor in his or her influence on them during their time here at school. You guys will remember, I suspect, that at orientation day for most of you 3 years ago, I introduced Professor Micklejohn as the Professor of the Year from the year before to greet you as the incoming class. It seems appropriate to me. It's sort of, you're bookended by Professor Micklejohn, but we are privileged to have a faculty that is extremely deep in committed and gifted teachers, as you all know. So as the members of the faculty, this is a coveted honor. I thank you for honoring one of our favorites, Professor Meiklejohn.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Brad. President Leahy, Justice Norcott, other members of the Platform Party, and, as other speakers have said, most importantly by far, members of the law school class of 2011. Many thanks for the award you've given me and with it the chance to speak to you on this very, very happy occasion. As you may know, there's a kind of tradition at graduation that the Professor of the Year sings a song, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to tell you that that will not happen this year. If you ask why, I will refer you to an observation of the great comedian George Burns, who said that he liked to sing and he liked to drink scotch, and most people would rather hear him drink scotch. I'd say the same thing, except that I'd substitute beer for the scotch. In constitutional law parlance, my decision to refrain from singing is rationally related to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Instead, I want to take you back briefly, as Kelly Obermeyer did, to the beginning of your experience at law school. That experience began at orientation, where you began to get to know your classmates face-to-face as opposed to just Facebook page to Facebook page. And you listened to talks by administrators, faculty members, and students. I think it's fair to say that although everybody said that law school was hard, they also told you, the speakers did entirely truthfully, that you were a very highly qualified group of entering first-year students. Then you went home and you read your first assignments, and it's true there were some words in there that you had to look up, but the reasoning in the cases seemed pretty rational and understandable. And you might reasonably have begun to wonder why whether law school was going to be as hard as it was cracked up to be, as hard as everybody had told you it would be. Well, it turned out that in a way that was kind of a high point. And things may have seemed to go downhill from there. The first thing that happened was you went to class, and the material that had seemed clear when you read it began to seem much less clear when your teachers asked all kinds of questions that you hadn't thought of. The logic of what they were thinking may have escaped you, and I was thinking, Justice Norcott, when you mentioned Groucho, that there was a scene in a movie where he was a doctor and he took somebody's pulse and he said, either this man is dead or my watch has stopped. The logic escaped you. And then, as some of you reminded me not long ago, you took your first quiz or your first practice exam. And when you did that, the question or questions reminded you of material you've been studying. You wrote answers that seemed sensible to you and that showed that you knew that material, so you thought, well, I probably didn't get an A, but I think I did pretty well. Then you got your grade or your score, or the faculty member's comments. And without going into a lot of gory detail, let's just say that it became very clear that the job of learning to be a good law student and write good exam answers was going to require a major adjustment in your approach. At that point, you began to understand why people say law school is hard, and you might have felt as if, so far, in the words of a song that was popular a long time ago, you fought the law and the law won. So at that stage, the question was, how would you respond? And I'm happy to say that you responded well. In the section I taught, you started working on outlines to try to bring some coherence to contract law, and bringing those outlines in to me for my review. In those meetings, I was able to see the beginnings of organized legal reasoning, and that was a very, very encouraging sign. Something else was also happening in those meetings that I think you weren't, that would not have occurred to you at the time. The meetings can actually be reassuring for a teacher, and they can generate some good suggestions for the school. In one meeting I remember from about 2.5 years ago, for example, a question came up about the meaning of a particular word. This was not a word that had been in the reading, so it wasn't an occasion when I was giving somebody grief about not having looked something up. And I actually wasn't totally sure that I knew what the word meant myself. So I said what I thought it meant, and then I asked a student who was sitting over near the bookcase to take Black's Law Dictionary down and look up the definition. The student did that. It turned out the word did mean what I thought. And the student put the book back on the shelf and then looked at me with a big smile and said, "I never doubted you." I cannot tell you how good that made me feel. In the meeting that produced a suggestion for the school, for some reason we got talking about all the stuff that first-year law students have to carry around all the time, and that led to somebody to mention the size of the students' lockers. I think it's fair to say that the consensus was that those lockers could be bigger. One student put it very simply. "I had a bigger locker than that when I was in first grade," he said, "and all I had then was my crayons." So Dean Saxton and President Leahy, when you plan the new facility in North Haven, I think you might remember that comment. Another thing I will always remember about the members of this class is that at the end of your first year, you gave me my favorite T-shirt. I would have brought it to show you, except that you wouldn't have been able to see it from where you're sitting. The design on the shirt shows the scales of justice with a male law student on one side and a female law student on the other side. The scales are equally balanced, as they absolutely should be, and the lettering says manifestation of mutual assent, with assent spelled A-S-C-E-N-T. As the other speakers have said, we all know that you have some real challenges ahead of you. Law school is by far the last big challenge that you'll face. And it would be foolish to pretend anything else. But my colleagues and I do have confidence in you, as the dean said. And the reason is that we've witnessed the ascent that your progress through law school represents. You climbed up that nearly vertical learning curve in the first year and went on from there, and your skills and your reasoning have now reached the point where we're required to let you go. I want to close with one other story. It's an old story, but it expresses my view of you and one of my hopes for the school. It's a story about a circus that had one of these acts in which a human being is shot from the cannon from one side of the tent to the other. That act was very popular. The circus ran it for many, many years. And finally, the guy they had been shooting from the cannon decided to retire. The circus had a retirement party for him. And at the party, he was talking to the circus manager. And the manager said that he was happy for the cannon guy, but this was a sad occasion for the circus. The cannon guy said, "Well, why is it so sad?" The manager said, "We're not confident that the act is going to continue." And the cannon guy said, "Well, why not?" He said, "Why can't you just hire somebody else and keep going with it?" The manager said, "We're not sure that we'll be able to find someone of your caliber." I very much hope that the law school will be able to continue to recruit students of your caliber. I've had a wonderful time teaching you. I hope you'll stay in touch with us in the years ahead, and I wish you the very best of luck in everything that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Micklejohn. And that concludes our commencement ceremonies here today. I ask the audience if you could please stand and remain standing until the platform party has recessed. Graduates and family members and friends, we will have a reception up at the Rocky Top Student Center, which is just a walk up the hill there. Hopefully the rain will allow us to get there without being too wet. And at this time, I'd like to call Rabbi Rena Judd, University Rabbi, for the benediction.
Dear graduates, from where I sat, I could see your faces change as you accepted the oncoming challenges you are hereby being given. It is my prayer for you that you go in peace, that you bring mercy and justice and kindness, and that you do so always feeling the love we have for you. Make this world better. That is my prayer for you. God bless you all.